Next up, we're going to talk about the WNBA, but we're going to talk about the WNBA within the context of comic Bill Burr. So we're not going to. So we were. Melanie King put out a video, and I'll put a link to the description of her video in the description of this video, where she was talking about fallacies with respect to the narrative of equal pay for women, and how women don't actually practice what they preach. They like to just run their mouths. But in terms of the way these things actually play out, women aren't actually putting their money where their mouth is. They just like to talk about this idealistic world in which women get equal pay, that the WNBA players are paid as much as the NBA players, that female soccer players are paid as much as the male soccer players. But in actuality, in terms of the nuts and bolts, the supporters of the product, and furthermore, the females who support this stuff, because these are women making these claims about the need for equal pay and equal treatment and equal everything, right? So if you're about that life, then one would assume that you support the very thing that you believe should be treated equitably. And, Melanie King was basically using Bill Burr's stand-up routine. And again, I'll put a link in the description of this video to that so that y'all can see what we mean. But the point is, Bill Burr was in his comedy set talking about why, in fact, there isn't much support for these platforms or programs, and why there is no room for equal pay. And it basically all boils down to the support for the product and what it generates. So in order for, if you want to see some context, you can go ahead and click the link in the video to check that out. We don't want to get hit with no copyrights or nothing like that. But just in the grand scheme of things, what do you make of the false narrative, the fallacies, equal pay, WNBA, all of that good stuff?
Honestly, I just think it's sad. Got to be honest with you, it's a bit sad, and sad from the aspect on the angle of that they continue to bark up this tree where, again, there's no facts supporting anything that they're claiming. Yeah, I get it. Equal pay, but at the same time, when you're playing in a revenue generated sport, I don't know what more you can argue about. The Bill Burr set, as we mentioned, you guys can check out the link. It's Bill Burr, man. So he's going to give it to you raw and uncut. And so he was letting the feminists have it. Not so much the everyday basketball girl that's out there just trying to live out her dreams. And yeah, she hears it in the locker room that we don't get paid the same much as the other guys, but deep down she knows why. And she's just okay with just playing NBA basketball and playing at the highest level that she can play at with women. And so I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about the feminists. And I think Bill Burr is addressing those feminists that are just so hell-bent on this equality thing, equality agenda, that they just want equality across the board, uniform equality, where when it actually gets down to its practical, like you said, nuts and bolts to it, it doesn't equate. It's not scalable. It doesn't make sense. And so, and then they get, so then once these feminists build these straw man arguments, they get completely torn apart. It makes them look stupider. So it doesn't benefit any these feminist women out here that are just out here holding the flag, the loud minority out here really just making it worse for all of them. And then when Bill Burr or anybody else comes out and gives statements like he did, just spitting straight facts, it makes him look insensitive. It makes all of this other stuff, within the social sphere.
Right.
But in actuality, nah, man, he's just giving it to him straight as he should. So, but yeah, I just really think that the feminists really hurt, WNBA. I don't think everybody that's in the WNBA is a feminist. I don't think every fan of the WNBA is a feminist. I think there's a large majority, but at the same time, I don't think they all are. And so I do feel sorry for the ones that are out there just genuinely trying to hoop and just enjoy and live their dreams. But they keep having all of these talking points that that throw them under the bus and have them looking kind of silly. So I don't know how you feel about it.
I hear you. Yeah, I think unfortunately there's a large segment of modern feminists who are bad faith actors, and who they pray tell to speak on behalf of all women, and all women aren't on what they're on. So like, there's a lot, like, for example, there are a lot of women who are perfectly comfortable being in a relationship and taking on a submissive role, and being with a partner who is a heterosexual masculine man who takes on the leadership role. There's a large segment of women who are okay with that, and who don't feel as though, because that's the type of relationship that they're in, that it somehow strips them of their individuality or their womanhood or their individual agency. But you'll have a lot of these loudmouth feminists who speak on behalf of all women, who try to say a man shouldn't control you, as if being in a relationship with roles automatically denotes that you're being controlled, and who say that if anything, you should be the dominant one, you should be the leader, but really you don't need men, don't need relationships, and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of women who don't agree with that stuff, but they're too busy living life to spend a whole lot of time on social media and in videos complaining about everything. And the ironic thing about that is a lot of those women who are loudest are also single. So it's interesting that you want to tell other women who are in relationships that they're happy with how they should feel about their relationship when you yourself are not in one. So yeah, it's just complete, frank, it's not hypocrisy. It's just a lot of people who are, abjectly miserable with the course in which their life is taken, and they are using their soapbox as a bully pulpit to try and bring other women into their own world of misery, because misery loves company. So yeah, there's a lot of bad faith actors running around with these modern feminists. But in terms of this particular subject, I'm with Bill Burr on this. And, I took the liberty of doing some research, because far be it for me to give my opinion. So I'll just go ahead and give you some numbers real quick, right? So you have a lot of people out here, such as the women who Bill Burr described in his set, these feminists who scream about equal pay and equal treatment. So let's keep it squarely within the realm of basketball. Let's talk about the NBA versus the WNBA. Okay, so this is information that I got from World Sports Network. I will put a link to this article in the description of this video so that you can see that I'm not making this up. WNBA revenue, and this is data as of 2019. NBA revenue $7.4 billion with a B. WNBA $60 million. Average salaries in the NBA $6.4 million. Average salaries in the WNBA $71,635. Ticket price for an NBA game average is $89. Average ticket price for a WNBA game is $17.42. Average viewership, and this is the most important thing. This is basically how I'm going to make my point here. Average viewership, 15.14 million viewers. NBA. For the WNBA, 231,000 viewers. Average attendance, 18,000 in the NBA. WNBA, 6,768. Okay, so let's go back to this average viewership thing, right? So I did some more research, and the latest data shows that, and this is data from frontofficesports.com. WNBA viewership, women, okay, so this is women. Women make up 1/3 of NBA viewers. Women make up 1/3 of all NBA viewers. Women make up 75% of all WNBA viewers. So let's just do some simple math there. Let's do 15.14 million, which is 15,140,000. And let's divide that by 33, because that's roughly 1/3. Basically, we have 45,878 people give or take, who are women who pay attention to who pay attention to the NBA on an annual basis. Now let's take 75% of 231,000. Okay, and basically you have, let's see here, divided by 231 grand, multiply that by 100, you got about 3,246 of those viewers, WNBA, 75% of 231,000. That's an average, right? So there's a clear discrepancy. And the point that Melanie King was trying to make when she was talking about women not putting their money with their mouth is 30% of 15.14 million is a much greater number than 75% of 231,000. The raw numbers are far greater apart than anything. Like, that's a huge discrepancy. So if these modern feminists were really about that life and really wanted to encourage this idea of equitable treatment and equal pay, they would do whatever they can to see to it that that gap was not as wide as it is. But what the data shows us is more women pay attention to the NBA than the WNBA, which therefore begs the question, and this is the more deeper existential question, why do we as human beings like the NBA more than the WNBA? I don't have an answer to that question, and you know who else doesn't have an answer to that question? Feminists. They don't know. They just want to complain about the things that they are dissatisfied with, even though the data suggests that they have nothing to complain about, because what brings in the money is what's going to get the most of. Like, the NBA brings in the majority of the revenue, therefore NBA players make the most money. More people watch the NBA has greater ratings, more people buy season tickets, all of that stuff. So the NBA is a greater revenue generator, and furthermore, the NBA actually subsidizes the WNBA. Like, the WNBA is a subsidiary of the NBA. The NBA pays to keep the WNBA lights on. So in what world does it make sense that we're talking about equal pay for, WNBA players, or even at large women athletes? I think the better question is, number one, why don't more women care more about women's sports, especially women team sports? Because statistically, more women care about male team sports than women. And number two, overall, why don't we care more about women's sports? If you can answer those questions, you might be able to address this issue of equal pay. But until then, you're kind of complaining and barking up a tree that you ought not be barking on.
And that's what I'm saying, that the feminists, they create this argument that's full of holes, and they're so loud about it that anybody's critique or just their entertainment of the argument, it did just tear it to shreds, and then it just makes them look sillier as a whole. And there's WNBA players that are loud saying it. I know it. I've heard them say it. So it's not just feminists hollering from the bleachers. So there's players that are saying this, but at the same time, I mean, what do you want to get subsidized more?
Right.
I mean, you're sounding like the black community. So you want more handouts? We already gave you some. And it's like, hey, man, it is what it is. Hey, make it on your own.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I've been that guy. I've said it before on this thing. Say it again. All right. You got a smaller ball. Right. You shoot. Your 3-pointer is closer in. Lower that rim, man. Lower that rim. I guarantee you it'll intensify stuff, because it's deeper than just us watching women dunk.
Yeah.
It's women not wanting to get dunked on. It's women wanting to dunk on other women. It's going to create a different competitive edge that we haven't seen women get involved in. So I really think on a smaller tier, the WNBA is too prideful to do so. But if somebody's bold enough, and I think they would be, to create a league or create a scenario kind of like the big three, where you allow women to hoop just like how they normally hoop, but the rim is a little bit further down, and they can start like basing on each other, just so people can see it. And hey, I actually like this. I would actually, yeah, because women have their own form of athleticism. There'll be women gliding. It's like, oh damn, I didn't know she can glide. It's like, yeah, they've got stuff. Just give them the format to allow them to exhibit their athleticism. So
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the tragedies when it comes to like male female interaction, and whether it's sports, whether it's relationships, the biggest disservice that we do to ourselves in these types of conversations is treating it as though men and women are the same. It's like we need to stop it with this charade. We are not the same. We're different animals. We're different creatures. We're not the same. So like female basketball should be different because we're not the same. Women do not have 45-inch vertical leaps. Women for the most part aren't 6'6", 250. Like they're not. So yeah, lower the rim. They already got a smaller ball. Introduce 4-point shots, 10-point shots, all of that kind of stuff.
Get
like just
spicy with it.
Yeah, spice it up. But
Yeah.
see, like this equality thing is one of the biggest tricks the devil ever pulled, man. And they got these people out here drinking this Kool-Aid. Y'all need to stop thinking. Most of y'all women, stop thinking we're not the same. Stop thinking that we should all be able to do things the same. We're not the same. And the last thing that I'll say, just to kind of clarify my math there, 30% of 15.14 million is 4,542,000. Okay, so that's how many women on average watch the NBA. 4,542,000. And then 75% of 231,000 is 173,250. So we're talking 4.5 million women now. We're not talking to everybody. We're just talking women here. 4.5 million women care about the NBA, watch the NBA, whereas 173,000 here, give or take, of all women watch the WNBA. So, like, let's talk about what's real here and let's stop complaining about things that don't actually exist. Again, all relevant links will be in the description of this video. Shouts out to Bill Burr. You're a real one.